Okay, BugeyeBob back here again. Gonna go through some of the stuff that I got done this week and some of the stuff that I discovered, which is a problem. Let's get into what I've got done, and then we'll get into some other stuff. As you can see, I got the inner sill and outer sill off. Those are quite nasty looking. That's the old inner sill. Rusted all to hell. Quite disgusting. This is the old outer sill. As you can see, it's holes all over the place. And what I couldn't see before is that all along the bottom it was also rusted out. I never noticed that before. So good thing I'm replacing both of those. Well, that and the fact that this end here had real bad damage on it. So once I got the inner sill off, there was about this much of this piece that was rotted out that I had to replace. I'd already replaced this part here, which had been rotted out. So kind of hard to see, but I cut right along a line here and welded in a new piece to fit there. That's fairly well solid now. I'm using these Cleco fasteners to hold everything together. And I'm at the point now where I can go through and use my spot welder. Some people call it resistance welder. But I can spot weld this inner piece in, front and rear. And then once I get the inner piece welded in, I can weld in the outer sill. Now, let me show you some things of what I did. This stuff comes with that black, whatever it is, primer, electrodeposited primer, whatever, on it. They say that you need to top coat it with another primer or paint. What I did, copper colored stuff is weld through primer. This gray is cold galvanized paint. And it seems to work pretty good to protect. It's literally like you galvanize the part, but you just spray it on. Seems to work pretty good for protecting things. So the point I'm at now is once this is welded in, then I can come back in and spot weld this piece on roughly like so. And that will make this outer, this is really like the outer frame of this part of the car. Once that's on, this is all solid once again. It has these fillers on each end that need to be welded in, there and there. I've already got those all fitted up, but there is an issue that I've come across. So when I was tearing this all apart, this outer sill was spot welded, and I wasn't sure exactly where it was spot welded, so I just kind of hit places where I thought it might be, and there were one or two of them that actually were. It obviously was rusted out right here, and it ripped out a little bit there, so that's probably a spot weld place too. And that I was having a lot of problem trying to get that upper sill tight against this. So what I had to do is use these clamps with quite a bit of reach this way, compress this all up, because this outer sill wasn't formed tight, and so it's got to be squeezed into shape. Before I did that, I had probably ½ an inch of gap here, and it looked like it was gonna stick way back in. But when I tighten that all up, it gets it all pretty close. Now, the problem that does leave me with, everything's good through the rest of this outside sill, except I've got the problem of this needs to be brought up tight and somehow welded to this piece. But what I did discover is if I'm very careful, I can come down through, and I don't know if I can't show you it on this side, but I can show you on the other side. If I come down through this hole right here on each side, I can get my MIG welder in there, so as long as I can, and I can see fairly well in there, and as long as I can hit one of the holes that I've punched through, I should be able to come through these holes here, and I'll have to scrape all the crap off here and put the weld through primer on, but then I should be able to do weld through these holes up here and hit the top of this and weld that all together, and life should be good. So that takes care of the sills. So now let's talk about the next problem I found. I started putting on the A-pillars, inner and outer A-pillars here. The first thing I got when I tried to mount a door was a situation that looked something like this, where there was like a 3/4 of an inch gap here. Well, I fixed that pretty much by just kind of cutting the welds that I had along here, dropping this down to where it lined up right. And then the problem that I ran into was I started mounting the door hinges and things went south real quick. And I'm going to see if I can show you exactly why things got incredibly ugly. I don't know if I'll be able to or not. If you can see back up in this corner right here, that piece right there, and there's another one up front here, on the top, I should say. There's the top bracket where the door mounts. The bracket on the bottom where the door mounts is rusted out, and see if I can get a nice long view here. You can see that's rusted out and bent all to hell. The problem I'm faced with now is that once I get the sills on, the outer sills aren't lining up in this part right here. And I'm going to run around to the other side and show you what I mean by that. A couple of things to notice. The first is this angle here, this has to drop down some because we're tight up here at this side of this joint, and we're real, we're, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch, 3/8 of an inch off there. Some of the problem is that this piece is not as wide as the original piece was. I don't know why. I think these pieces were actually made for later year models of the Sprite and Midget. Now this door, the bottom was all rotted out on, so I've got to repair it, but this shows you what that inside piece that the door mounts on. So this piece here slides up in here like this. And if I try to slide that in there, like so, you can see it's got to go up quite a bit on the front here, like that. That's almost right there. It's got to come out more and up, and that would almost be right there. Might even be able to live with that. But the problem is, before I can weld in these pieces, I'm going to have to repair the doors so that I've got a solid door that I can bolt in to make sure that these pieces are vertical and in the right position this way. So the next thing I'm going to have to do is repair both of these doors. And that's not going to be an easy job. I've seen Fitzy on Fitzy's Fabrication repair the bottoms of doors, so I'll follow his expertise. We keep falling, you bitch. So that was the outer A-pillar or A-post that I took off. This is what the inner looks like. And it gets spot welded to the this piece here. But I can't do any of that until I replace the inner and outer sill on this side, because I know that the footwell inside of here is rotted all to hell, and that's got to be replaced. My next step is going to be repair the doors so that, because I got to get it done on the other side to get that in place right. And then I'll have to come through and adjust these so that they're sitting in the right spot. I'll probably have to grind this down a little bit from what it looks like. So that's kind of where things are at. Before I can do the A-pillars, I've got to have the doors repaired. Okay, so that's where we're at. Now, I used to show a lot of what I was doing and how I was doing it. And I wasn't sure if anybody was interested in it, so I quit doing that. And I've noticed that my viewership has dropped way the hell off. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to go and start showing the work that I'm actually doing, and in addition to talking about what I'm doing. I'm trying to document how you repair a really bad case. And this is a really bad case. And I'm first time at this. A lot of people out there, they're going to take on something like this, and it's going to be their first project also. You can do it. Don't be scared of it. But it helps if you know kind of what problems you can run into. And I spent many years teaching adults software systems, enterprise resource planning software. I taught some college courses in software and networking, and I love teaching. So that's why I'm trying to focus on the problems that you run into and how to resolve those problems. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Make a donation on PayPal if you can. You can make a one-time donation there. And you can join as a member on Patreon, $4 a month. I'm still considering a couple of things. If you have any questions, let me know. I thought about running a live stream where people could ask questions. I have put several of my videos up as premieres. The last one that premiered this last Monday, I was actually out there to see if anybody had any questions, and there was nobody out there. Now, my first thought was, well, you've been releasing these things on Monday at 4 o'clock in the afternoon Central Time, which means anybody who's on the East Coast is probably just got home from work. Same with people, and they're trying to eat supper. And the people in Central Time, they're, still at work. Mountain Time and Pacific Time, they're still all at work. So I think what I'm going to try is I might try releasing these videos later in the evening, say around 7, 6, maybe around 7 Central in the evening. That's going to put it before prime time for TV, which is 9 Eastern. But it kind of gives everybody some time to get home and settle down and do whatever. Because if there's people out there that have questions, I'd really like to be able to deal with and answer those questions. Want the channel to grow, obviously, because I like to think that I'm putting out some decent information that's useful to people. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. I don't know, but that's my delusion, I suppose. But what the hell? So that's it for this week. You folks have a blessed life. BugeyeBob, over and out.